Okay, the first part of the integumentary system we're going to look at is the skin. So the first point is that the skin, the study of the skin, is called dermatology. Most of you all know this. The other name for skin, the scientific name, is called the cutaneous membrane. And the skin has about 7 to 15% of the body's weight is from skin. You'll see some books that will say 10%, some say 15%. Just have to kind of look at maybe if you're having an exam, what your professor prefers, what percentage. And there's two parts of the skin. Some parts of the skin, well, there are two characteristics of the skin. Some parts of the skin have blood vessels, which is called vascular, and some it's avascular, means no blood vessels. And blood vessels are basically little pipes that are bringing blood to the skin. Now, there's three layers of the skin. The hypodermis is actually not a layer, but there's basically three big layers, and then there's small layers inside of each one of them. For the first one, the epidermis has 5 layers. Dermis has 2 layers. Hypodermis has 1 layer. The So if this means basically if you take the 5 plus the 2 plus the 1, if you were to stick a needle in your skin, particularly in your palm, you would go through 5 layers of the epidermis, 2 layers of the dermis, 1 layer of the hypodermis, and after the hypodermis is muscle, and after the muscle is bone. So technically you would go through about 10 things, and bone being the last one. Now, the types of tissue, there's types of, now each one of these has a different type of tissue. The epidermis has epithelial tissue, the dermis has connective tissue, and the hypodermis has adipose tissue. Adipose tissue basically means fat. Now, regarding vascular and avascular for the skin, the epidermis is avascular, meaning there's no blood vessels. There's no blood vessels. And that's why you can poke yourself sometime, or you have an abrasion, or you bump up against the wall or something, and you don't start bleeding all over the place. It's because you're only injuring the first 5 layers, which don't have any blood vessels. That's why you don't bleed sometimes. The dermis is vascular, and the hypodermis is vascular. Now, the other point is vitamin D is one of the things that's a part of the integumentary system, and vitamin D is made in the epidermis. The dermis, what's unique about that, that's where people put tattoos, and that's why tattoos never wash off, because they're a part of the dermis. If you put tattoos on the epidermis, it would basically shed away, because the epidermis, those layers are always shedding all the time. That's why people can, for example, put marker on their hand or something, and it will take maybe a week or so, and it'll wash away because those layers of skin are washing off. The hypodermis is a place of fat storage and blood supply. So most of the fat that we see in the first part of most of the fat is stored in the hypodermis in the body. Now, in between the epidermis and the dermis, there's a layer that's called the basement membrane, and this is the layer that separates the epidermis from the dermis. Right? Okay, so now it's time for some questions. What is the name of the study of the skin? Dermatology. What is the other name for skin? Cutaneous membrane. What percentage of body weight comes from skin? 7 to 15%. How many total layers in the epidermis? 5. How many total layers in the dermis? 2. How many total layers in the hypodermis? 1. Which type of tissue is the epidermis made of? Epithelial. Which type of tissue is the dermis made of? Connective. Which type of tissue is the hypodermis made of? Adipose. Is the dermis vascular or avascular? Avascular. Is the dermis vascular or avascular? Vascular. Is the hypodermis vascular or avascular? Vascular. Which major layer of the skin is the place where vitamin D is made? Epidermis. Which major layer of the skin are tattoos put on? Dermis. Which major layer of the skin is the place for blood supply and fat supply? Hypodermis. What is the layer that separates the epidermis and the dermis? Basement membrane. All right, now your turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Again, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, now time for the epidermis. Now the epidermis has four types of cells inside of the epidermis.